On this week's episode of Fishing the Dream, we go out with the boys from RU4Reel Charters. We learn how to throw poppers from skipper Roderick and also get to see the advantages of fishing with downriggers and why they are becoming more popular in Queensland. The boys from RU4Reel put me onto a humdinger to find out if this beginner has what it takes. Stay tuned as Nigel and I go fishing the dream. Fishing the dream, fishing the dream. Let's all go and fish the dream. When life gets too tough, you think you've had enough. Grab your mates and let's all fish the dream. Fishing the dream, fishing the dream. Let's all go and fish the dream. G'day and welcome to this week's episode of Fishing the Dream. I'm out here with the boys from BLA and we're out here on RU4Reel doing downrig fishing. I'm here with Scott and he's going to tell us all about it.
Thanks for that. Look, downrigger fishing is a style of fishing that's been around for many years, but not used in a lot of areas in this country. Used a lot in the south in the trout fishery, and some of the professional mackerel guys use them and have done for many years. But there's more and more recreational fishermen using them. Because what's happening, what you're able to do, as you'll see, as we go out today, we're able to get the bait or the lure down to the depth, whatever depth the fish are seeing, you're seeing them on your sounder at. You can then lower the bait down to that depth. The line is clipped into a peg, and then once, there's the peg there, once the fish hits the lure or takes the bait, you are then connected directly to the fish, pulls out of the peg here, and you're fighting the fish lead free. So obviously, you're not being hindered by, a lot of weight on the line.
Yeah. And this one's an electric downrigger?
This is one of, pretty much the top of the line as far, it's an electric and all, but there's many different, the manual units are just as effective. You're just lowering the weight and then manually retrieving it. Obviously with an electric model, once you're fighting the fish, you can just hit an auto up button and it will automatically bring it up. So if you're fishing on your own, that's obviously a huge advantage. But it's not just downrigger fishing using a downrigger is not just when you're trolling. You can use it in an anchored situation. If you're anchored in a current, you can put the bait out the back of the boat, clip it into the peg here, and then lower it to the depth or down near the bottom, and use the current to take the bait back to where the fish are on the bottom.
And you don't have to use them offshore as well. You can use these in the rivers. You can use them in the canals.
Without a doubt, we do a lot of anchor up in front of a bridge or a hole where we know the dew are. Let the bait back 20 or so feet behind the boat, put it into the clip, lower it down, and the dew will pick up the live bait and pull it out of the clip, and you fight the fish.
Excellent.
Very effective way of fishing.
Yeah, and it's different. Not really. Is it getting popular here in Australia?
Yeah, for sure. There's more and more. You see, particularly with the mackerel fishermen, you see a lot. Through the summer months, a lot of fishermen up off Palm Beach, the Mermaid Reef, up off Mooloolaba, these sort of places. A lot of people starting to use downriggers because it gives you, you can have surface baits out, but as that sun gets higher through the course of the day, a lot of times the fish will go deeper into the water, down the water column to get away from that bright light. This is the most effective way of getting that bait, be it a live bait, dead bait, or a lure, down to that depth where the fish are.
Excellent. You're saying you can run these on with your sounders?
Yep. This particular brand, the Canon, can be run through a Humminbird depth sounder. Humminbird and Canon are owned by the same company, so they will speak to each other. So you can through your hummingbird sounder, essentially set the depth and so forth of your downrigger from your.
So that's got to be handy.
It is, without a doubt, most definitely.
And the extendable arm?
Yeah, obviously, you know, on a bigger boat like this, you're wanting to ensure that, you know, you don't want to get it fouled around props and so forth. So that boom can be extended out to keep it well away from prop and so forth, and give you a wider spread, you know, between the downriggers. On this boat, we could actually have a third one mounted here, you know, so the wider spread, longer boom gives us the ability to mount more across the boat.
Excellent. Well, let's get out there and give it a try.
For sure.
Excellent.
All good.
Know your rod.
Good, how are you?
Good. How you going, Fraser?
Excellent.
All right, so you're going out with Roderick on RU4Reel?
Absolutely.
All right, we got a rod for you.
Awesome. Can't wait.
All right, Fraser, so you're going out on RU4Reel Charters?
Yes.
All right. I happen to know Roderick, the skipper of that boat, pretty well, so I know what a good day you're in for.
Oh, excellent.
All right, but we're here to see what rods you're going to need for the day.
Yep.
Well, you'll be doing two types of fishing, possibly. We don't know. But first one will be jig fishing. I know he loves his jig fishing.
Yep.
Now, when we're talking about deep water jigs or jigging bait, we need a special rod for doing that. So the one we've got here, look, this is called a venom rod. All right, so yet again, straight away, you're going to be using a spin or an overhead. They're available in both. You'll see there we got the overhead one, obviously has the guides on top and a different reel seat. And you'll see that the spinning rod version there actually has bigger guides. We'll get on that. But the most important thing about jig fishing is the blank. We need to talk about the construction of this rod to make sure you get it right. If you're going out jigging, you need, obviously it's a lure, goes down in the water, comes up. We need a carbon rod, all right? We got here, carbon's quite a stiff material. We need that to work that jig, to entice those kingfish and that to strike at that lure. It's very much an aggression bite where you actually trick them into their head actually thinking, I've got to eat this, because you give the lure a very erratic action. All right, and we're fishing out of deep water and they're quite heavy lures, up to 400 grams, so the rod needs to be strong. You'll notice this one here. All right, quite strong guides on it. It's important. You can't have a jigging rod with rubbish components. These are Fuji guides, Fuji silicon guides. You'll see on the end we've got a gimbal. It's very important because we're fishing with a heavy line, anything from 50 to 100 pound. We need to actually have a gimbal belt to harness that in. That little gimbal on the end there is made to lock in. Next thing about the rod, needs to have a long grip, because when you're jigging it needs to go under your arm and needs to counterbalance. Your hand needs to fit on the front grip there, and it needs to counterbalance with the reel, especially with the overheads, because you're giving the lure the action with the reel and the rod. So that's why it all must be properly balanced. Another thing with jig rod, they're rated to the line. So when you look at a jigging rod or for jigging metal lures, they'll see a PE rating. So PE, you'll see P2 to 5, P3 to 8. Look, there's a lot into it, but the easiest way is P3 equals 30 pound, P8 equals 80 pound. That rod will handle from 30 to 80 pound. Now, you're using braid on your reels, it's very important with the lures, so it'll handle 30 to 80 pound braid. And you need to choose a rod. You'll also see a rating in grams on the rod. You'll see this one here is a Venom 150 gram, so, and it says P1 to 3. So if I saw that on a rod, it might mean nothing to people and think, oh, what rod do I buy? P1 to 3 is sort of 10 to 30 pound braid, all right? And 150 gram is the weight, the ideal weight that this rod's made for jigging. So it's very specific. If you think, I've got to use 200 gram jigs and 30 pound braid, you've got to buy the exact rod so that you can give the best effort into that lure. All right?
Yep.
Now, next thing is, you're going to be doing some live baiting on the boat.
Yep.
Okay, the rod we've got here that's perfect, that we'll give to you for, you know, that would be the perfect rod for you to live bait with. We've got here a Tex Allium Gold, a live fibre one, but we've got to look at what makes this the perfect rod, I think. Yep. All right. You're going to be floating that live bait down. It's not a matter of chucking a big heavy lead. We're fishing around Brisbane and the Gold Coast and the Tweed Heads.
Tweed Heads.
Yeah, so it's quite a highly fished area. So the fish are quite attuned, and we need to, even though we're fishing with live baits, we need to do that as in a finesse style so that we encourage the bigger fish to actually attack the live bait. So we're not lure fishing here, so we've got a rod that's of a different construction to some of the other ones we've spoken about. This rod, the blank itself, is a composite blank, so it's made out of fiberglass and carbon. So carbon's stiff material, fiberglass is quite a soft, forgiving material. So we've got a fiberglass tip and a carbon in the lower end. This rod's also got the Tex Allium over that, but that's a different matter. Again, that puts it a higher level up. But if we look at the basics of what we need in a rod, the ideal rod would have a soft fiberglass tip and a very strong carbon reinforced with the fiberglass rear end. All right, and that's important because when we drop that live bait down, we need to see if it gets agitated. And we also, when you're bait fishing, the actual take of the fish is more subtle. He'll put the bait in his mouth. So if you have a stiff tip like we did on the jigging rod, it's going to pull that bait out of the fish's mouth before the hooks are in the correct position to set. So this, with the lighter tip, allows you to see the bait struggling or a soft bite. And then as the fish gradually draws up with the bait, you can take the tension up. It'll put the hook in the right position without pulling the bait out of the fish's mouth. And that's when we set the hooks using the reel. Other couple of things, a short butt. This is very important. As you can see, those big fish, live baits, fishing offshore, they really can put some hurt on the angler. And also you're fishing in deep water. So what we need is we've got a rod, we need that 7-foot rod or that longer rod for the deep water to pull the slack out of the line, but that also has the leverage against us. And the shorter that butt is there, is the more that puts the leverage factor back into us when we're fighting a big fish. And believe me, 10 minutes on a big fish with the wrong rod in that situation, like you're going out in RU4Reel, can really hurt you. So look, yeah, it's important in your live bait fishing rod, soft tip, strong in the butt, really good set of guides, Fuji silicon guides on this Texalium, metal reel seat to hold with, cope with the pressures of the heavy line. You're at least using 30 to sort of 80-pound line, and a real short butt there so that it brings that leverage factor back into it. So look, I wish you luck.
Thank you. Hope you get out there and give the rods a try.
Yeah, all right, good luck.
Thank you.
Another fantastic day for fishing in the Great Southeast. We head south to the border to see what Tweed Heads has to offer. When heading through any bars, make sure you follow all safety precautions and have correct safety equipment. Before we put the downriggers in the water, we need to jig for some bait. Roderick will show us how.
Technique we should be using, Roderick, for
Jigging the bait.
jigging the boat.
A lot of the guys will do, they do really big lifts. Yep. But we don't.
It's a slow lift.
Yeah. Slow little lift.
And once the hook, just keep that.
Nice, steady, slow wind. No, nothing fast, nice and steady.
So you've got a very soft mouth.
Yeah, and you get, and if you just keep it nice and steady, the others will jump on as well.
Yep.
Like an active, the active fish to sort of stimulate those other fish into feeding.
Slow lifts and constant retrieves when you're jigging. Now we got the bait in the live tanks, Roderick is going to show us some handy tips while throwing poppers.
Just want to keep a constant pop. These Halco roosters are really easy to pop, so you want to just keep the popper moving nice and steady. And also, when you're popping it, try and keep your rod tip fairly pointed, fairly directly at your popper. It's that way if you get the bite. Put one over this way. That way if you get the bite, your rod's over here and you get the bite, you can't really strike. So you want to, and if you do get the bite, you need to sort of compose yourself, which is quite hard to do at times, and actually wind into the fish instead of trying to strike the fish with the rod. Also, when you pop in, you want to make sure where you're standing, you've got a good purchase. So if you get a bite, and it's a good bite, you're not going to fall in while you're trying to strike. Yep. Kingy. Yeah, there he is. Yes, I'll track it. Where's those larvae? Yeah, they're all going. Kingies. They weren't big kingies, but they were kingies.
So just seeing a fish come up to the back of the lure make you want to do another 10, 15, 20 more casts. Just gives it a little bit more excitement going. That's what we're all out here for. And when you do hook up with kingies, are one of those fish that are inquisitive and that others come in and follow it. And
I've stolen quite a few of other guys' poppers.
yep.
you throw it, like you'll have they really get fired up and they chase to the boat. Quite a good thing is to have a popper and a stick bait or a livey, and then when they come in and they fire it up and they sort of run out of space on the boat, you can throw that stick bait in behind them or throw a livey in behind them or a soft plastic. And sort of switch bait them, you get them excited, and then they'll eat a popper. But if they're going to eat it, generally they just eat it. If they sort of chase, then they're not as fired up as you sort of want them to be. For some reason they may not just be aggravated, or if one has a crack they might get the others to eat. And if you hook one and you want to get another one, leave him in the water and work those lures around that hooked fish, and you might get another one of them to eat. But it just depends how much you want that one in the water. If you want to get him out, then you've got to put a lot of hurt on him, get him off the bottom and get that fish out. We'll go around and see if we can find him again.
Now it was time to switch to liveys, and we put the downriggers in the water to hopefully land that big one. The advantage with fishing with downriggers is that you can set your bait to what your sounder is showing, giving you more opportunity of catching bigger fish. Here's Scott Lydia explaining how Roderick will try and position the boat and keep the bait in the strike zone.
Along that ridge, rather than, if you're coming from south to north into the current, you've only got sort of one crack at that strike zone, because that's where the fish is sitting, is obviously on that drop off. So what we try and do is troll along with the if that's the drop off, you're trolling along from east to west and dragging the bait along just the backside of that drop off. And then you're less likely to get snagged up, but you're straying in that strike zone a lot longer. That's the advantage. With mackerel fishing in summer, we use them a lot up Palm Beach and down here. You tend to find, we'll start off with baits up high in the morning, and then as the sun comes up, the fish tend to retreat to the bottom. So you can maintain, your fishing time, or productive fishing time, a lot longer, because you can put your baits down lower as they start to go down through the waterfall.
Yeah, and you're saying earlier that you can have the two rigs coming off it as well, so would you try that like mid-morning or something, have one off the bottom, another one halfway up?
Another one halfway up, that's exactly right. So what I would normally do, I'd have two top baits right on the surface, two bottom baits, and then two halfway up. And that's, you're running 6 rods. You're not getting tangles because they're well separated.
Obviously keeping a really good eye on your sander at the same time.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, you'll see the mackerel sitting, above the bait ball or around the bait ball.
Remember, when fishing, always know your zones. Where you can and can't fish. Don't fish in protected areas. Make sure you pick up your charts from your local tackle shop. After a few passes, the boys from RU4Reel said, "Fraser, this one's yours." I didn't know what I was in for.
What do you got there, Fraser?
I don't know yet, mate.
Bit of weight to it?
Yeah, bit of weight to it.
First fish of the day on RU4Reel Charters.
You're such a comfort.
That's going to be alright?
Yep.
Running a live bait on the Cannon downrigger.
Bring this one in, Scott. Bring this one in. It's a long way out.
Long way out.
Run.
Hit that lifting and winding happening, Fraser.
Rest the reel against the forearm here.
Stick around to find out what happens next.
No, you got me. I got you.
I'll put some more pressure on that, Roderick.
Yeah, mate, I put a little bit more pressure on that. Not too much, I think it's 40 grams. Strong fish. Yeah, I think it's a big cobia matter of
We'll see what happens when he comes up.
By this stage, my forearms were blowing up. It felt like the fish was winning.
You want him out?
That's the go, Fraser.
nice and gentle when you lift, Fraser. Just nice and gentle, mate.
Oh, it's interesting. You know, we've had those tuna up on the surface there, so there's plenty of fish around on the surface, but the actual fish that's taken this has taken it on the deepest downrigger. This one was at 12 metres. We had another one at 8 metres. We had a bait up on the surface, and the one that's gone off is the deepest bait. Probably, you know, this time of year I would think a big cobia or black king.
It's mainly the larger fish that target the downriggers.
Well, we've had a reasonable sized slimy on there, so you know anything that hits it is going to be a decent fish. And I think we're feeling the effects of that fish now, aren't we? Forearms.
Yeah. I didn't realise how hard work it can be.
Don't give that fish any slack, Fraser. Just keep it nice and
Nice
tight.
and smooth. Cobia.
Keep that right up if you can, mate. Get the right fish in the fish. Want to come up? Sure.
Where's the big gap, Roderick? That's right.
So how long were the baits in the water before we actually hooked up with them?
Well, we've not long. Not long. So when we've come in closer here, we can actually see the fish. You know, we're in about 18 metres of water. Saw the fish on the sounder, took the downrigger, you know, to about 10 metres down to 12 metres to get it closer to the bottom, and that's when we've hooked up. And that's the advantage, you know. Now we're fighting the fish lead free, nothing hindering the fight. It's just mono line, braided line right to the fluorocarbon leader to the hook. So you're getting the best out of the fight. There's no lead dampening it down. It's just a good sport fish fight now.
And when we hooked up there earlier, did you use the auto wind function, or did you mainly?
Correct. As soon as we hooked up there, I just hit the auto retrieve, so the ball comes up immediately out of the way, so we're not going to get tangled on the.
It actually came up quite fast as well, the ball, so
good retrieval rate, without a doubt.
And you know, if you're fishing on your own, solo fishing,
It's a huge advantage.
huge advantage. What a weight in that fish, eh?
Yes, good fish.
Oh, I know how you're feeling, buddy. I was feeling the same. After a good 20 minutes of fighting him, I was glad to see him on the boat.
Filming you? Oh, he's a lovely fish.
Whew. I'm absolutely knackered after that. That's definitely well worth it. Well, that's all we have time for this week on Fishing the Dream. Want to thank the guys from BLA and RU4Reel for taking us out. And Scott, if anyone wants any more information on down rigging or RU4Reel, where do they have to go?
They can go to the website, ru4reel.com, and all the contact details are there, so you can either email to us or give Roderick a call, and they can take you through.
Might be able to get on a nice fish like this.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much, and we'll see you next week. Let's all go and fish the dream.